Welcome back to the ACB Wrestling Talk Show, your main source for wrestling news and wrestling discussions. I'm, of course, your host, Alexis Carrillo, and let's get into some wrestling talk. And, of course, we're just a few weeks away from this 2019 year ending, and over this week and next week, I didn't want to leave the channel without any content, so right here, right now, we're going to talk about WWE's 2010 to 2019 years, that entire decade, which, if you clicked on this video and you watched and you read what the title said, I define it as the part-timer era. Now, in most eras in WWE, at least in my view, are defined by the WrestleMania main events. They are defined by the superstars and the wrestlers that are a part of the most important and the biggest match that WWE has to offer in the entire calendar year. And that is always the main event of WrestleMania. Whether that be for the world title or not, it really doesn't matter. If you're closing out WrestleMania, if you're closing out the show of shows, you have done something right for the past year. And that has always been the case in WWE ever since WrestleMania was established in 1985. However, that entire statement has pretty much gone out the window throughout this entire decade, because for the most part, each and every single main event over the past decade has had a part-time superstar involved in it. And as you know, part-time superstar, pretty much in the definition is, you're not here most of the year. You're not a part of the 12 months. You don't attend every Raw or every SmackDown or every pay-per-view. And if you've been watching me ever since I founded this channel, or since I repackaged this channel into a wrestling news channel, you know that I'm not a big fan of part-time superstars in professional wrestling. I believe they have a purpose, and that purpose is to draw money, draw viewers to shows or to pay-per-views, and eventually put the full-time superstars over, and not take the young guys, the full-time guys, spots just because of, let's just be honest, nostalgia, and the fact that the fans want nostalgia back. And that's that. Let's look over at WrestleMania 26, the WrestleMania that started this entire era. And I can say that WrestleMania 26 might be one of the few of this entire era that might be the exception, because the main event was The Undertaker defending his undefeated streak against Shawn Michaels' career. And up until that point, up until WrestleMania 26, both superstars were still, to a degree, full-time superstars. To a degree. I mean, over the year previous to it, you had Shawn Michaels go away and reform DX and then come back and face The Undertaker again. But for the most part, they were full-time superstars. The problem is that after WrestleMania, The Undertaker took off. We didn't see him again until what was it? SummerSlam of 2010. And Shawn Michaels, well, he retired only to come back later in the decade. Moving on to WrestleMania 27. Two full-time superstars in the main event. Yes, John Cena challenging for the Miz's WWE Championship. But the biggest talking point coming out of WrestleMania, the biggest talking point coming out of this main event was the fact that the host of that year's WrestleMania was the one and only, the great one himself, The Rock. And the fact that The Rock cost John Cena the WWE Championship. And essentially, many, including myself, consider WrestleMania 27 to be just a prelude, a preview, the setup for the next two main events at WrestleMania. Those two main events being WrestleMania 28, the once-in-a-lifetime that wasn't once-in-a-lifetime, and WrestleMania 29 for the WWE Championship, John Cena versus The Rock. Now, John Cena was the face of the company back then. He was not only a full-time superstar, he was the full-time superstar for WWE back then. But The Rock was a part-timer, and The Rock was a Hollywood he still is a Hollywood star. He came back, had that once-in-a-lifetime shtick going on. He came back, he won a WWE title, and then he lost it to John Cena. And up until that point, The Rock served his purpose as a part-timer in my eyes. Moving on to WrestleMania 30. It gets a bit tricky here because, yes, you got a full-time superstar like Randy Orton defending his WWE World Heavyweight Championship in a triple threat match against, just an amazing Daniel Bryan who was on a roll with the fans, in that ring, on that mic, in charisma, everything. Everyone wanted Daniel Bryan to win this main event. And if you found someone who didn't, you could convince him otherwise. And here comes Batista, who won the Royal Rumble match that year, returned, I believe, before the Royal Rumble match that year, won the Rumble match, went on to WrestleMania. It was believed that Batista was supposed to dethrone Randy Orton to become world champion. Of course, that did not happen. And then in May or June, Batista took off. So again, Batista serving the purpose of a part-timer superstar. WrestleMania 31, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar was the advertised main event. Seth Rollins cashed in, but Brock Lesnar being right now the definition of part-time superstar. WrestleMania 32, Roman Reigns versus Triple H. We don't see Triple H that much in the ring anymore. WrestleMania 33, Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. The Undertaker has gone on so many breaks throughout the year. He has 1, 2, maybe 3 matches at most per year ever since 2010. And up until WrestleMania 33, we believe that The Undertaker's last match was that loss against Roman Reigns. WrestleMania 34, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Once again, Lesnar, part-time champion. WrestleMania 35, we had 3 full-time superstars in the main event. Becky Lynch, the man, on a roll. Won the Women's Royal Rumble match, main event at WrestleMania, won the very first women's main event at WrestleMania. Charlotte Flair, the Queen of Queens, right now, 10-time women's champion, one of the best women's wrestlers to ever grace the square circle. And you have Ronda Rousey, a natural athlete who just took to wrestling like that. But Ronda Rousey was not the exception. Ronda Rousey lost her title at WrestleMania 35 in the main event, and then she took off. We haven't seen her since. There are rumors she might be returning for the Rumble to win the Women's Rumble match. That's uncertain. But there are also rumors that she has no plans of returning to WWE anytime soon. So again, Ronda Rousey, a part-time superstar. And if all of that hasn't convinced you so far of this part-timer era that WWE had from 2010 to 2019, look no further than the fact that in 2020, we're gonna be starting the year off with a part-timer as WWE World Heavyweight Champion in Brock Lesnar. I love Brock Lesnar as a superstar, as a character, as a gimmick in that ring. He is one of the best in that ring. He's one of the best characters, and I believe WWE has done their absolute best to protect Brock Lesnar's aura. They have done all of that pretty damn good. And trust me, if Brock Lesnar was a full-time superstar, he'd be one of my favorites on the current roster in WWE. But the fact is, he's not. He's not. So, that pisses me off, because you got guys like Roman Reigns, like Seth Rollins, like Kevin Owens, like Rusev, like Braun Strowman, and many, many more who should be today's stars, who should be world champions, who should be the main eventers. We shouldn't be talking about future WrestleManias between Roman Reigns versus The Rock. No. Especially not in that level of excitement. We should be talking about future main events. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. The Fiend versus Roman Reigns. Full-time superstars. Full-time main events. That's what we should be talking about right now. And I'm hoping 2020 starts to turn that around for WWE. Because again, I can't stress this enough. Part-time superstars, especially legends like Goldberg, like The Undertaker, like Brock Lesnar, like John Cena, because believe me, he is a part-timer right now, and when he returns, he is going to remain a part-timer. They have a purpose. They have a purpose to draw money, to draw viewers, to draw excitement, and to fill up and bulk up the card of any pay-per-view show, any Raw or SmackDown or NXT even. But leave the full-time superstars and the full-time positions, rather leave the full-time positions and the championships for full-time superstars who actually work 250 to 300 days a year for that very moment. I get it. In this wrestling industry, if you draw, you are number one, you become champion. I get that. Brock Lesnar draws. But you also have tons of full-time superstars on the current roster, a very talented roster that's just busting their ass each and every single day, each and every single night, to make sure WWE remains the leader in sports entertainment. So with that said, what do you think? Do you agree with me that 2010 to 2019 is the part-time era in WWE? Or do you have a different opinion? Do you think that's just been for WrestleMania, but on the pretty much on most of the other pay-per-views, we've had full-time superstars in the main event? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions in the comment section below. I've been Alexis Carrillo. That's it for today's episode of ACB Wrestling Talk, and I really hope you enjoy this upcoming Christmas holiday with your families, with your friends. Have a great Christmas. See you next time.